Hello, thank you for joining us. I'm really excited today to be sharing anchoring with you, and I'm going to teach you a very quick and very easy technique to utilize anchoring. So, to begin with, though, let's talk about what is anchoring. So, anchoring was first discovered by Dr. Pavlov. Dr. Pavlov found that by ringing a bell and then feeding a dog and then repeating it over and over again, ringing the bell, feeding the dog, ringing the bell, feeding the dog, that eventually it would get to the point where he would ring the bell and the dog would create saliva in anticipation of being fed. So the two things got joined together, the two things became linked, and the trigger was ringing the bell, and then the result was the dog would feel that it was going to be fed, anticipated being fed. So anchors are two things being linked together. So we get anchored all the time, and some of them we're aware of, some of them we're not aware of. So let's talk about that for a moment, about what anchors you might already have in place and what triggers you might already have in place. So you might smell some perfume and it reminds you of someone who wears that perfume. And you also remember how you feel when you're with that person that wears that perfume. Maybe you smell cookies being baked and that reminds you of your grandmother baking cookies and how you felt when your grandmother baked cookies, that anticipation of yummy cookies and how that felt. You know, we also might hear a piece of music and it makes us feel so happy and so joyful. And the reason why that music makes you feel so happy and so joyful is because you're remembering the times where that music was being played and you were having a good time, you were having fun, you were feeling happy, you were feeling all those good feelings. So these are just some examples of some anchors that you might already have in place. Or maybe you can think of some other anchors that you have in place and some other triggers which trigger you to feel a certain way. Marketing, they use anchors and triggers all the time. They do a lot of research actually in order to make really good anchors. So, for example, a marketing company will play a piece of music that their researchers told them that, you know, a lot of people have anchored really happy, joyful feelings to. And they'll play this music so that you feel happy, you feel joyful. And then they will have smiley, happy faces of people, which again makes us feel really good. And then they'll show their product. And they do this in hope that if you watch the advertisement enough times, that you will then anchor their product to feeling happy. So they trigger you, you feel really good, they repeat this over and over again with images of their product in hope that you will anchor their product to these good feelings. It's very cunning, very, very cunning, very smart. And I mean, you know, marketing companies also have these little, you know, jingles that are really catchy and really upbeat and really happy, and you know, and then every time you hear the jingle you feel really happy, you feel really upbeat, and you think of their product as well because that jingle is unique to their product. So they're very smart about using anchoring, very smart about how they use triggers. So you can use anchors, you can create an anchor, create a trigger to something that feels good and use it deliberately. So let's talk about that. So the first key of anchoring is a trigger. And I suggest that you use a trigger which is unique because you don't want to fire it off willy-nilly, okay? So do something very unique. And for example, it might be putting two fingers together because you don't do that very often. And you might maybe use your ear, pressing in your ear, whatever unique trigger that you want to use. The other key is repetitiveness. So you want to repeat it over and over again, okay? And And another key is feeling good and making those feel good feelings as intense as you possibly can. So let's go through the technique. So let's do a anchor for confidence, because confidence is a state that most people want to feel and most people want more of. You could use this for any state. It could be a state of feeling like you're a winner, could be a state for feeling motivated. It could be any state at all, but in this situation, for the purposes of this exercise, we'll use confidence. So remember a time that you felt really confident. Now, we feel confident after we've had a win. We feel confident after we've succeeded at something. So remember a time that you felt you'd had a real win. You felt maybe it was a sporting event where you won the event or your team won and you're feeling really fabulous about yourself. Maybe it's a time that you had a win in business, you won a new client or you made a big sale or you had a promotion or there was some kind of big win that you felt really fantastic about and in that moment felt really confident and really good in yourself in that moment. So remember that moment and do everything you can to make the feelings as intense as you can, and then use the trigger. And just before the feelings start to weaken, stop the trigger. And I want you to do this over and over again. I suggest that you do this 6 times. When you're feeling really good, you're feeling at the most intense, put your fingers together. And then just before the feelings start to weaken, release. So that means that the trigger is when you're feeling at the most intense. You do this over and over again for at least 6 times. You may not have 6 events that you can remember. Maybe it's a couple events and you just keep playing it over and over again. But do at least 6. And then I want you to go and do something completely different. Forget about it. Change your state. And then later on, test the trigger. Put the 2 fingers together and just see how you feel. If you have done the anchoring and trigger correctly, you should be feeling fantastic. You should be feeling really, really confident. So, this is just a great thing to have. If you, just before you go into a meeting, you want to feel confident, you can use your trigger beforehand. Or if you're going into a situation where it's important to feel confident, you can use your trigger. And if you get into the situation and you've forgotten to use your trigger beforehand, you can easily put your fingers together under the table and no one will even be aware of it. Also too, you can add to your trigger when in the moment you're feeling fantastic. Let's say you've just won a sporting event and you're feeling fantastic and you can go, I want to add this to my trigger. Just put your fingers together when you're feeling fantastic. And that would just add more voltage, so to speak. I find that the in the moment feelings of feeling really fantastic are just great ones to add to your trigger, to anchor. It's just more and more layers, and also too, you can add a mixture. It doesn't have to all be about confidence. It could be a similar state that you want to add, real joy, real happiness that you want to add to your trigger. And it's your anchor. Do with it what you wish. Add to it what you wish and just have fun with it. So let me know how you go with that. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about anchoring others, because this is another way that you can use anchors. So you can use this with anyone. I love sharing this with parents because it's just a beautiful thing to do with your children. So I'm going to use that as the example here so that you understand what I mean about anchoring others. So let's say your child has, just succeeded at something. Maybe they did really well in a test and they come home and they're really excited and they're sharing with you how they did so well on their test and they're feeling really, really good. Do a high five. you anchor then how they're feeling to the high five. It's going to take a few times, so that'll be the first one. And then maybe they do really well at a sporting event and they come away and they're feeling fantastic. And again, do a high five. And then they might be just playing with friends and they're ecstatic and they're really happy and they're really joyful and they're feeling fantastic. Do a high five. The more times you do this, the more you will put juice, put voltage, put energy into that anchor. Anchors work great with kids because kids can get into a really intense, heightened state really, really easily. And if you continue to anchor times where they're feeling really confident, times that they've done really well, then it will so help with their self-esteem and their confidence. So, just keep anchoring all the good stuff and anchoring, happy, joyful, fun times as well, and putting that in the mix just kind of teaches them that having a win, doing well, being confident is also fun, is also feels really elated. So anchors with children are just fabulous. And here's the extra added bonus, which is a huge bonus, is they are looking at you. They are also having physical contact with you when you are firing the anchor. So they anchor all those good feelings to you. They will feel better around you. The more you use this and the more positive anchors that you keep layering upon layer, it not only helps them with their self-confidence and helps them feeling good, it also means that the dynamic between the two of you becomes a really happy one. So have fun with that, and please drop me a line. Let me know your wins. Let me know how you're using anchorings and the benefits in your life from anchoring. So my love and light, that's all for today.